Hey Acers! I know I just posted one earlier today, but that was supposed to be last week's, and I thought I had posted it, so I have to give you my apologies for having drunk the or having no drunk. I'm drinking yerba mate. That's why I was thinking drink. But anyway, for having posted it late. So I will be posting a second one probably later today. But today I wanted to tell you that I actually finished the summary for one of my stories, and it's gotten better. And I've just kept thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And then right before I go to sleep, I kind of tell myself the story again, and then see if my brain will give me any good ideas while I'm asleep. And it did. It gave me a great idea, and I'm going to be able to talk about it more when I get further along. So that said, welcome to Ace Role Playing Games. I'm Mason, the host and founder of Ace Role Playing Games. And these are the videos to support the Ace Role Playing Games clubs that I hope that you guys are getting ready to start up. You can totally get a hold of me at my email in the description. I'll put it in again on this one. And you can ask me what you need to do to set up your own role playing club near you. Here at Ace, where it's achieve, create, and entertain, that's what ACE stands for. We're gaming for good. So that said, I want to talk for a second about how I rediscovered. Well, not rediscovered. That would imply that I had forgotten about it. But I am restarting to watch Babylon 5, which was a series on TV in the late 90s, early noughties, and it was a 5-year TV show. The 5th year kind of not as good as the other 4, but Babylon 5 is one of my favorite stories that's ever been told, and it's a good sci-fi. But what I realized is that there's elements of there are elements in Babylon 5 of the basics of storytelling that persist regardless of what genre you're telling it in. And because me, I'm a science fiction nut. My first story that really engaged me was Ray Bradbury's Sound of Thunder. And I still love that story to this day. And my librarian read it to me from a book called Wide Angle Lens when I was 8. So that's the Wayback Machine to way back. I mean, I earned the gray in this beard. So anyway, she read that to me when I was 8. And in 2000, when I ran into her again, she was coming to see a play that I was writing tech for. I gave her a big hug because her youngest son, Jeff, shout out to him, recent birthday last Friday. Jeff, he and I were good enough friends. And anyway, she was Jeff's mom, and she knew me more than just from her being my librarian. So anyway, with wide angle lens, of course, that's one of the classic experimentations on the butterfly effect, which is the idea of if one key decision wasn't made in history, all of history would change. That's the short version of it. So basically, if you go back to primeval dinosaur times, if a butterfly that flapped its wings and made history go one way because that little gust of wind caused the next thing to happen, the next thing to happen, the next thing to happen, and history turns out the way it does, and then that butterfly gets crushed by, say, a time traveler or something, and therefore it's not there to flap its wings, and history goes off in a different direction, and things turn out different. So there's those two. There's that example of the butterfly effect. And anyway, she read that to me in my class when we were in elementary school, and I sat there and I was enthralled. I think my dad had already introduced me to some science fiction, and I know I was already a fan of Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back by that point. Although I don't think it was. Let's see. Yeah, it was just after. It was just after Return of the Jedi. It would have been just after the time period of Return of the Jedi, the year which came out the year I turned 7. So that tells you how old I really am. But I had seen Return of the Jedi. I had the books. I loved spaceships and starfighters and all sorts of things like that. And that was what made it so when she read me this story about time travel and the butterfly effect, I got it. I got it so well that she said she told me she remembered this day because we were sitting as a class, Indian style, on the floor with our legs crossed, and we were all sitting there listening to the librarian as she read the book, and or she read the story from the book, and it was astounding to me. She said she looked back over the group, and most of the kids had this just glassy-eyed stare, but I was sitting there, grin on my face, my eyes were on fire. I was so excited. And as soon as because she'd read the same story to all the classes, and so I waited for the week for her to finish it, and I was the first person to check that book out from the library, and I read it cover to cover. I can't really remember many of the other stories in there, but I do remember one was about a spaceship taking the parts out to build a jump ring so that you could do a hyperspace jump from Earth to that new location, but it was going to be a long haul. I do remember that. I think that was the second or third story in there. But still, I read that book and I loved it. And then a year later, when I was almost 10, when I was 9 going on 10, my dad had somehow gotten a hold of a copy of a book called Ender's Game. And that is what opened my world to me. So anyway, like I said, I'm a sci-fi fanatic. I didn't read Tolkien until much later. And I love Tolkien. Don't get me wrong. I love fantasy. I've read Tolkien. I've read Robert E. Howard. I've read who else is there? Apprentice Magician Master. I can't remember who wrote those. But anyway, I've read those. I've read Terry Brooks. I've read a ton of fantasy. But the first suggestion I have for you in this video as a game master is read. Read. If you can't read, listen to the audiobook. It's okay. But just get the story. Immerse yourself in story. Know ways that you can take and modify whatever it is that the players help make the story into. Because there's an old war adage, an old saying for war, and that is that a plan never survives first contact with the enemy. So you can plan all you think you want and plan how you're going to move your troops and everything like that. But once you actually get on the ground and get that contact going, that is when you're either going to succeed or fail. Because, I mean, is it better to not have a plan? No, it's still better to have something in place that you can use pieces of as you bring it to the table. But a story for a role-playing game never survives first contact past the players. So make a plan. Know at least where the story's going to go. And the great thing about Savage Worlds is you can also even know the basic stats of any one of your NPCs just that quick, because being as all skills and traits and abilities, the target number is usually 4. Well, then that means a D6, which is average in everything, is all you got to ask. If they're going to be like, well, what's their, your players are asking this guy on the street for directions to a place, and you think it could be interesting to have the failure happen. So roll a D6 and see if it comes up as a success. If not, give them the wrong directions, and that can go off into all sorts of different things, and the players turn it into a story. Remember, it's not your game. It's not the player's game. It's our game. And so we make the story together. That's what is the exciting part about role-playing games, is that we make the story together, and we make it good together. I mean, yes, there's a lot of what if I do this? No. Wait, what if I? No. There's a lot of that goes on. But if you just learn to roll with the punches, have your basic framework in your head, and when somebody makes a turn that you didn't expect, go that way. Now, does that mean you should quantum ogre? That's another debate for another time. I think I've introduced the concept of the quantum ogre of if the players can go left or right. Incidentally, they always go left. That's just kind of the game master hat. The game master little saying is players always turn left. But if it's left or right, and they're out there, and the ogre's down the right passage, but they go left, and you pick up that ogre and you put them over on the other side, you did take away some of the player agency. But like I've said before in previous videos, just have the ogre smell them. And that's something else I'll get into another time, is using your body language to convey characters. That is a key for being a good game master. But the ogre smells them. And then he opens his door, and not seeing the players, he gets to make a stealth roll at a +2 or a +4 as he sneaks up behind them and attacks because they left their back open. So I guess that's the other piece of advice I give you, is not only plan and be able to make your plan, the word is called fungible, meaning that you can adjust it on the fly. Make plans fungible. And see, you learned a new big word today. And just make your plans fungible, and then have the world respond to the players. So plan, make the plans fungible, and have the world respond to the players. And that's how you create a story together. So remember, story is what binds us together. Story is what makes us tight together and links us to the people who've come before and the people who are yet to come. You guys are the generation after mine to really be able to enjoy role-playing games. They've been around for 50 years, and it's just starting to get good. Let's make it better. Remember, I love you. If nobody's told you that today, I have, and I do love you. I really appreciate you, and you are important. Let's go out and make a great story together. Let's game for good. So until next time, this is Mason Emerson with Ace Role Playing Games signing off.